Would you rather be at peace with the world and war with yourself, or at war with the world and have peace within yourself? The first time I heard that, it was said by Nipsey Hussle, right? Rest in peace. And I was just discussing that quote to one of my partners because he told me, he said, man, I can be honest, bro. Sometimes when I bring chaos to a situation that I know don't equate to what I feel and what I really know I deserve, a lot of times I surrender, I retreat, I let it just be because I would rather have peace instead of keep battling whatever it is. And I had to tell him, no, man, we don't surrender, we don't retreat, we don't back down. Everything in front of us is already right. It's just that we have overwhelmed ourselves by allowing things in our reality or in our safe place or space that don't serve us. And then that when that becomes a dis-ease. Meaning, if it was in the body, it would be a disease. But it always starts in the spiritual realm, then it takes place in the mental realm, and then it manifests in the physical realm. So the same way you can be stressed out based on relationships that you're in, or whether it's a job, whether it's a individual, whatever it may be, whether it's something you're choosing to do. When you start to see a battle within that, it's time for you to let go. It's time for you to release and remember who you are. Because whenever you start to really grow by doing the inner work, it's not that the world around you changes first. What changes first is the perception or the way you perceive the world around you. And then you start to wake up to the fact whether a person, place, or thing is helping you or hindering you. And that's not a time for you to judge them or point fingers. It's a time for you to look at yourself and say, I need to remove myself from this. I need to be wise enough not to give no energy to this. Because whatever I don't focus on can't grow, right? But a lot of times we've all been in that situation where we kind of surrender to the lower frequency to try to make peace. But then a week or two later, that lower frequency rises back up to bite us again, right? And that's why we have to nip stuff in the bud. And like I told him, at times, a lot of times, I know a lot of people can relate to this. We have to be knocked to rock bottom before we even change. And it don't supposed to be like that. If you know things are going good in your life and then you're starting to see things that are not kind of fitting, that puzzle piece ain't fitting into the puzzle that you're creating, you have to remove it quickly because it's like a fruit rotting. You don't let that sit in the basket, just sit there when you know you got a whole nother, all the other fruits are filled in the basket and they good because that one fruit gonna start to ruin all of them as time pass. See? So it's like we have to be aware enough to be able to say, okay, before it get too bad, I need to remove this. I need to trim my bushes. If I want my bush to keep growing, just like if you want your beard or something to keep growing, you got to continually trim it, cut the split ends. Because split ends is when one hair is going this way and another one is going that way, and then it stops expanding. It can't grow like that. It comes to a halt. And the only way it can continue to grow is it become back one. So you got to cut the split ends all the way down to where it is one again, and then it can continue to grow or expand. And that's the same thing that happens in life. And, my partner been like, man, you know what, man? It's like once you see, you can't unsee. And I told him, I said, yeah, man, it's like you becoming a butterfly and now you wanting to retreat back to the cocoon or back to the caterpillar stage. And it don't work that way. Once God opens your eye, it's time for you to, pick up your stake and walk. Because, like I told him, I say symbolic to the movie Lion King. The feminine energy is entering back into reality. And it's kind of like when Simba ventured off into the wilderness and got off his path, the feminine energy, which was Nyla in the movie, came to retrieve him and remind him that the Pride Lands was basically on its last leg. And it was up to Simba to make the decision to retrieve his feminine energy by facing his fear, or allow his feminine nature of him to wither away. And, the Lion King was so symbolic because Mufasa was his higher self, which was his father. And Simba was the lower self that had to transform into his father, his higher self, into his higher version, his greatest version. And it took a lot of pain. It took a lot of heartache. It took a lot of being in the wilderness for him to even know that he was worthy, right? No matter what nobody say, no matter what or how it may have looked around him, it was all up to what he believed and what he was willing to go up against. It's never about how hard it is. It's about, is it worth it? Because a lot of times what's worth it do be hard to do. But don't turn away from it because it's hard. Because I like to say this, if it ain't rough, it ain't us. Right? Going up the hill will always be challenging. That's how you know when you're climbing the hill. Remain the wolf climbing the hill and never the wolf on top of the hill. Because we'll never be on top. Not in my book. As long as I'm here, I'm going to constantly keep pushing myself to higher levels of greatness. Not judging it against nobody but myself from yesterday. We got to know when to sit back for a minute and relax and get ourselves together. And then we got to know when it's time to keep going. It's okay to take a break, get a breather in, relax. But then you got to get back on it. Because ain't nobody going to push you like you push you. If you got people that's around you that can help keep you going here and there, don't let that be your main source of why you keep going. The main source of you keeping that stride moving forward should all be powered only through you. Everything else is extra, family. But that's the message. That's the message, family. Never settle. The world is yours. And we all need to truly act like it. Because you only get what you are, family. And until you are aware that you are all things, you will never see it. It's no such thing as believe it and then see it. It's always about, it's never about seeing it and then believing it. We were always taught through all different scriptures that you got to believe it and then see it. So ask yourself, do you believe that you are worthy of all that your heart desires? But like always, family, no more separation. It's time that your masculine and feminine energy coexist together. Your light and dark exist up under one roof in a balanced state. You knowing when to push and you knowing when to pull. You knowing when to go and you knowing when to stop. Okay? But until the next message, family. One love.